let me start by saying remembrance of 9/11 today. We shared with our team, obviously a lot of our guys weren't even born during the events of 9/11, so we shared with them the history, the importance of it and what it meant to our country, and that we'll never forget. And also, this week playing the Academy, I think it's important to, this is a team, we respect all of our opponents, but what an immense amount of respect we have for the academies and obviously the men and women at the Naval Academy. And so I thought it was important for our players to understand, and because we're able to go out there and practice today because those that, sacrificed for us, and, that's a day that will always go down in our memory. And anybody that's ever been affected, all of us, but obviously those that were truly affected by it in any manner, our thoughts and prayers continue to be with. But I think it's important that we continue to teach the proper history to our young men, and especially this week. Got a lot of respect for the Naval Academy. Every year it's a tough fought match. Thursday night, ESPN national television game, but it's also the next game. So it's the most important one of the season. Quick turnaround, short week. Man, the conference, thank you guys for putting us on a short week versus triple option. Even when we talk about those things, but that's the way it goes. And so we got to be prepared and ready. Coach Newberry and I have a history, not only with him being the defense coordinator at the Naval Academy for quite a few years and having success. I actually coached against him when he was at Washington and Lee University, when I was at Hampton City College in 2001 and 2002. Now, I know you guys are going to ask, I'm not going back and watching that film from 23 years ago. I don't even know if Frank was old enough to remember back then, but, we have a history back then, and he's a guy I respect a lot. He's going through the first year as a head coach, was promoted from within, has done a fantastic job. They're a team that offensively, we know what they're capable of, and we have to be really assignment sound. They have not turned the ball over, right? And usually when Navy hurts themselves, it's with turnovers and all that stuff. But they've done a nice job. They're obviously a low penalized team in the way they're able to do those things. So we've got to go out there and play effectively. We know they're going to give us multiple looks on defense, and on a short week we have to make sure that we're assignment sound and play a clean brand of football. And that's one of those things we've talked about even after the last game. How do we continue to play clean in all three phases? We've got to be great with our eyes and great with our communication. Looking forward to a beautiful Thursday night with a huge home crowd. I can't wait to see all of our fans out there.
I know heading into the season, Matt Barnes said that one of the things he learned from last year was he said he felt he tried to do too many things too early with the difference in offenses. But now you're going up against Navy, very different. What are you expecting in terms of preparation to be different than the last two opponents?
Yeah, well, one, it's a totally different animal. I think anytime you take Navy, it's one of those we've prepped a little bit for. In these OTAs and training camp, you have to. If not, especially on a short week, it shows up really quick. So it's got to be different. Now, we're going to run our schemes, and we're going to do what we do. We can't go out there and change our defensive scheme based off of the opponent. We had to prepare as hard for Bethune-Cookman and as hard for Arkansas State, and now it's just a short term. So we can't go out there and change a bunch of things for our defense. We've got to go out there and execute what we're capable of. Now, Navy has showed some multiple things. If you watch their game versus Notre Dame, some spread formation, some unique things, and then you watch this game versus Wagner, they're playing two different quarterbacks. The first drive, Navy goes down there and scores, and then next drive they put a different quarterback in there in shotgun, and the announcer's talking, well, he's a little bit more athletic and throw the ball a little bit better. They had one of the best 2-minute drives I've seen in college football this year. So Navy's offense is doing some different things. So Coach Barnes has got to make sure the defense is prepared because we're expecting to see, even on a short week, some unique stuff.
So is this does this look like a different Navy offense or not?
A little bit. The common fan's going to assume they're just going to see a condensed, old school, 1983 wing T offense. But they'll come out and they've shown some spread formations, or they'll start in a condensed, spread out. They'll throw the ball a little bit more, some shotgun stuff. Everybody always assumes they're under center. They're doing a lot of communications from the wing backs to the wide receivers, things they haven't shown. And you know what? It's been effective. Obviously, that game versus Notre Dame, in Dublin, different surface, different thing like that, and they showed different things. And then last weekend versus Wagner, some unique stuff. So there's still the triple option elements for sure. I mean, that's their bread and butter. But now they've got wrinkles, and it's not just the old, okay, this is what we get to face, this is what we can do. We're gonna have to change up our plan from last season because it's a different deal.
How beneficial is it to go against the triple option when you have an older defense, especially when it comes to the discipline that's required against an offense like that?
Yes, I mean, going against an offense like this, it's so much as the eyes and the communication, right? I mean, you're going to want to sit there and you're going to see, I've used the term sleight of hand with playing one of these, like, okay, I would see the ball there, but there's something flashing back across, there's something going on over here, I'm getting blocked over here, and trusting what my key is, right? And that's what they do such a great job is they will burn your tail if your eyes aren't great. And so having a veteran defense, guys that have at least maybe have seen it, but again, it's a little bit different. I think for them to be able to go out there and just trust it, and that's one of those things. Sometimes young guys' eyes are all over the map. We'll have guys that now this is their first time ever seeing it, right? Simeon Blair, I don't think has played a triple option offense, so his eyes have to be great. His communication has to be great. And so, but yeah, anytime I think you have a veteran defensive group, where you got to trust that they're focused and detailed, that's going to be huge on game day.
How much does the preparation speed up and change when you have a midweek game, especially when you're playing at Navy, but just really in general?
Well, if you go upstairs, you'll see all the coaches' cots upstairs. I mean, it's first off, getting back from Arkansas State and then putting that game to bed, and then, man, hurry up and game playing for a short week. So it doesn't matter who you're playing. Now all of a sudden you're playing a team that's multiple schemes on offense and defense, a different type of offensive scheme. It's one thing if, hey, they're 11 personnel, looks similar to Arkansas State, maybe we can roll over some stuff. It's a completely different deal. So for us, it's, the players, out there today, first practice, and it's going to be our only full speed practice. We got to get their legs back underneath them. We got to do all those things, but we're throwing a lot of stuff at them. I mean, we're throwing it all on the wall and seeing what sticks and seeing what they can handle. The great news is these guys have been buying in. And I mentioned post-game after the Arkansas State game, is our guys' eyes have been phenomenal. And I know I just talked about with the defensive eyes and being smart with what they're going to see, but just their approach to everything. That, okay, well, what do we have to do? Okay, what's the preparation going to look like? Because we can't just prepare like it's any other normal week, a Saturday game. And then now it's Naval Academy, so you've got to prepare like a darn champion. And I think our guys are taking that approach. We won't really know until about 9:45, a little bit quicker game, Thursday night, how well we prepared. But I think our guys are taking the bit and doing everything in their power to make sure they're preparing in the short week.
How much did you work on Navy in the summer?
Yep, so we have to an extent. The summer rules are a little bit different than what you can do, but you have to work on it now. You can work on what you saw last year, and then all of a sudden they line up in Notre Dame game with different formations. Like, well, hopefully we didn't just teach an old dog some new tricks, and they're stuck in, hey, this is what you taught us before. Now you got to unteach us. So to an extent, but you also, like I told you guys, I mean, that first game's got to be the most important, because you screw around and put something in your guys' minds that may be a little bit different, then you're never getting better at your basics. So to an extent, but you can never go overkill.
You talk about your defense a lot here. What about your offense? What concerns after the Arkansas State game? And they got a short turnaround too.
Yeah, look, I told you guys after the Arkansas State game, the offense did some good things. We got to be better up front. And like I said, the run game didn't get to where we needed it to be, and it ultimately is on me, and I've got to find a way to get that fixed. And I've challenged guys, the offensive line challenged the running backs, the tight ends, the wide receivers, and their blocking. And then we've got to go out and play a clean game, because one, the possessions, Wolo, versus a Naval Academy team are going to be shortened. We already know that the possessions in college football, I think I read somewhere, normally it's an average of 13 possessions per team, are down to 10 with this new rule, are down maybe 1 possession, so 8 plays. But now you're playing Naval Academy and they're down to 10. So if you're an offense, you got to realize you can't turn the ball over. We always, it's going to be a key to victory. We talk here in a couple days. But the reality of it is, we've got to go out and play our cleanest game. And they blitz all the darn time. He does a great job moving the fronts. They'll line up in a 3-down front, then a 4-down shift in it. And they got really smart, tough guys. It's the academy. And we know they play really darn hard. So we're going to have our challenges ahead for us offensively. Right, in a short week, same. We can't go out there with 120 plays like we would versus Arkansas State. We got to reduce our menu. Okay, what can we go out there and execute? Because if today was only our first full speed day, we got to be smart.
On Saturday, it seemed like you talked about it in postgame, but Diego Brumfield kept noticing because they kept throwing at him, even though it didn't seem like it was working. Just talk about his performance this season and just what you've seen since he's come into the program.
Yeah, it's one. I always think it's interesting. Some corners take offense when people throw at him, but he had 5 pass breakups, I think. And like I tell you guys, I'm probably pretty poor with the stats, but he did a phenomenal job. And I think that's one of those names that some guys are like, Diego Brumfield, where did we recruit him from? He was actually an NAIA transfer, and which is rare, or Division II, one or the other. And he came to us and has done a phenomenal job and just kind of worked his way up. When he first got here, everything was really fast, and he's done an excellent job. And just so proud in his growth. He's a young man that, to be honest, going in, he did some good things, but you're not like out there watching a winter work. It's like, oh, this guy's, first round pick, and he's just come in and done some really good things day in and day out. to earn that starting job. Obviously, we rotate our corners a little bit, but quite pleased with him. And I think he's one of those that's going to continue to get better and better.
With
How did
him
you
and
even find
just in,
him?
yeah, with him and just in general, how do you identify a person at a lower level who's going to be an effective player at this? Like, how do you go about with him, the linebacker Chandler, Martin? Like, how do you identify that from film and limited experience?
Yeah, first, and I'll to work those questions together. One, you see what's in the portal, and you have to explore all options. You can't just sit there and say, okay, let's look at every transfer from LSU and Texas A&M, which some people would say, is that all you do? No, you got to look at every level. And what I think is unique, and this is no knock, we've got some great Power 5 transfers coming in that have contributed, but sometimes you find a guy from a quote-unquote lower level, an FCS, a Division II NAIA, they come in here and they're like, wait, we get meals after practice? We got a nutrition center. Wait, I got an iPad where I can watch film. We film every angle of practice. This indoor is for football, and they're so hungry and so appreciative. Sometimes it's kind of like getting that walk on that Calvin Austin, that's really hungry to be here. That Anthony Miller. It's like, I'm going to prove myself, and this is all at our beck and call. And so it's to them that they come in a little bit hungrier. And you watch that film, you got to study it. And just like with anybody, right? What's the competition? It's no different. We're in the NFL. We'd watch a guy, you watch an FCS guy in the NFL draft, you say, well, what's the competition? No different than a high school kid, right? Is it a kid at a 1A school or 6A? Well, is he kicking that guy's butt just because he's a bigger guy? Or let's see his technique. Does he have the athleticism? What's his bend look like? So a lot of those same attributes you got to look at when you're studying a guy and say, okay, what's his upside? And then, you got, just to mention those two, Chandler, Martin, Diego, they're smart individuals that, had some success previously, and generally that will find a way to correlate. Sometimes you're not sure how soon, right? Maybe there'll be a two-phase special teamer. And I told you guys, with every transfer, that doesn't mean they're going to be starters, right? If every transfer you expect to come in as a starter, it'd be hard for them to, continue to move in the right direction. But I think we've got some guys and pieces, and those are two that obviously we're able to bring in.
Do you feel like you guys have been able to be more creative on offense so far this season? Like, I'm thinking of the hook and ladder to Sun the other night. It feels like there are more plays so far with a little razzle-dazzle to them, I guess.
I wouldn't say much more. That was actually the same play we ran on the left hash versus right hash versus Tulane. We were down that game. It kind of gave us a little bit of momentum to hopefully get back into it. If anybody remembers that, going towards the scoreboard away from the locker rooms. And, it's just one of those. Like, we always will go in with something. Now I know Coach Newberry's listening to this, so we've got 37 trick plays. I hope they're preparing for them all. There's some back in 2001 he needs to go back and check on. But no, I mean, right, I think every week we talk about it, and I think one of the questions that was asked last week was how much should we open the playbook and what can we get done? Like, we want to be able to have 1,000 plays this week, but man, what are we limited to? Short week, what can we get that done? Coach Cramsey, the offense staff, they're really smart guys, and they put the guys in the right situation, and they're really creative. So sometimes it may be something new. There'll be something you guys will see Thursday night that you've never seen before. There's something that we're running that we've never run before here that we put in the late hours last night. So looking forward to hopefully it works.
So Duck got in there, got some totes, looked effective, and Hargrove, some of the bigger backs. Hargrove got in there, was effective. Sutton only got 4 or 5 carries. Where do you see the running back room right now going into game 3?
Yeah, and like I said all along, I mean, I think Blake Watson's still your starting running back, and I think he did a nice job. Sutton Smith still, will get the carries and the touches like a starter. I think, like we said a lot of times, is who's got the hot hand, what's that look like? Jay Ducker didn't get until later on some mid-zone concepts, but he's capable of doing all of it. He was a two-phase starter on special teams. A lot goes the ebbs and flows of the game, right? Like with limited possessions versus Navy, if we go 3 and out and Blake's our starter, well, then he's probably going to get that next series just to give him a chance to see all that stuff moving in. You just don't want to rotate backs every couple of plays. Right. You want to keep them fresh. But the good news is we feel they're all capable. And like I told you guys all along, don't want to sit there and be guys that have been here in the past. No, the 6 running backs, man, we don't want that. Let's go out there who are 2 or 3. But the good news is we feel really comfortable with those other guys. And, obviously Hargrove got in at the end of the game, was not on purpose for him to score, but, and some of those things. But whoever's effective, and, we'll see how the game goes.
Is Hargrove an option for you when you bring Chisholm in at fullback to be that short yardage dude?
Depends on who's in the game and how's it going. You'd hate to all of a sudden, if it's middle of the third quarter, and I'm not giving away any secrets, and and Hargrove hasn't gone in at all, to all of a sudden throw him in the first carries an under center, ISO play. That's hard. That's not easy for anybody, any running back to come in. They haven't done anything in 2.5 hours, so all of a sudden go in. He's a bigger back, but so are the other guys. I mean, it's not like he's, 230 pounds, so not that much difference.
You mentioned short yardage frustrated you even right after the game. As you looked at it closer, do you see yourself considering personnel changes? Is it what you said after the game? Just a
Yeah, I mean, it was.
step there?
It was. I mean, you go back and watch. I know why that guy made the play, and I don't ever want to speak out of terms in front of you guys if I'm wrong. That's not fair to a player, but it was a player stepped here the wrong way, or man, if he had just done what he's supposed to, or I could have maybe put the guys. I always put the blame on me, put our guys in a better situation, but that's where I thought. I mean, the short yards wasn't terrible. I mean, we got but it was, anytime you get shoved it in 2-yard losses, on a couple of them, those are the ones you remember. You forget about the quarterback sneak for 4 yards, those things. I didn't think we were as effective as we've been. We've been very fortunate on short yards and goal line to have some success over the last couple of years, and I just wasn't pleased. They did a nice job. Credit to them. They had some scheme stuff that we hadn't worked, and I've got to make sure that we're preparing for all that stuff.
Coach, what's the mental preparation like this week? Because it's a short turnaround. You play Navy on a Thursday night. What's the mental preparation like for the guys?
It's got to be everything. Devin, today was a huge physical day, right? But guess what? We threw a lot of them out this morning, right? We're going to challenge them to watch as much film as they can tonight. We're going to send them notes. Tomorrow is going to be a walkthrough. So tomorrow they're not going to be doing much other than in here, without pads on. And so they're going to have to be as mentally prepared, and sharp with everything. They're going to have to watch more film they've ever watched. They've got to ask more questions. And so this part of it has got to be top-notch, better than it's ever been on a short week, because we can't go out there tomorrow and pound them again and then expect them to be fresh on a short week for a naval team. We continue to challenge. I think that's so important. I think part of having a veteran group or an older group is the mental aspect so huge to it, and you trust that they can learn to practice like pros tomorrow. Because if we come out tomorrow and we're not focused and we're not sharp, it's going to be a long game on Thursday night. So we got to treat tomorrow like it's game day. That doesn't mean it's full speed. It may be 50%, but our eyes, our communication, our stances, making sure we're dialed up, doing our read keys and the versus the triple option, making the right adjustments versus the schemes that we're going to see on defense. So the mental preparation is as important as anything we do, if not more.
Is keeping it simple on a week like this really important?
To the best of our ability, right? I think, you've got to be creative. I can't go out there and say, okay, here's day one install, let's just do that. But yes, I mean, you don't want to give the guys so much that they're out there overthinking. There's always angst to playing a short week. There's always angst to playing the Naval Academy. There's always angst and stress to playing on ESPN. Let's call it what it is, first conference game. Yeah, I'm not an 18 to 23-year-old, but man, my stomach will be in knots all the way until that game ends. And then hopefully a smile at the end. But man, it's you can't overthink it. You got to go out there and do what you can, because if we say, hey, we got all these unique plans, we got all these things that we think we can do, if we can't go out there and execute it today, then we probably should pull it from the game plan. So we are keeping it relatively simple, but we also have to be creative, because if we just go out there and say, okay, here are the 12 things we did last week that worked, let's just rerun them, then we'll get our teeth kicked in.
Coach, you got your first.
Were you guys able to get any more evaluation on Davion Ross's situation?
Yeah, so I don't mind sharing. I know that, and I'm not going to hide anything. Davion will probably be done for quite a while. Great young man, obviously. A guy that started for us at corner and nickel some, and then obviously our kickoff return, but we think he'll be, unfortunately, out for the foreseeable future.
Could he get a redshirt year? Is he still?
To be determined. We'll look at all those things, whether it's from a medical, from a just a true red shirt. All those things. I've got a sheet of paper. It's got regular red shirts, if there's such a thing. We used to have these things called blue shirts and gray shirts. Those went out the window. Then you got medical red shirt. Then you got this COVID red shirt thing. And so to do the math on all those, man, I think that's why there's some 28-year-olds still playing college football.
How long is that COVID thing still? We're trying to figure it out. Like, if you were a freshman during it, is this going to be in effect till 25?
At least one more year, for sure. So next year you can still have a guy that can get a 6-year. So.
One more. Can you? What injury did he have? Are you allowed to disclose?
I don't want to go into specifics just because for the Owen young man, but yeah, it's below the neck. So below the neck.
Ryan, you referenced
Yes, sir. I was gonna say, you got your first win in those uniforms last week. You're 0-3 before. Do you have a set of uniforms, or just like a you let them pick kind of thing? Or
All
do you
right.
have a favorite unit that y'all wear?
So two things. One, I used to be involved in everything on social media. I used to be involved in the paint of the hat, and I used to be involved in the uniform. There ain't enough time in the day. I truly, and that's not me like I always get mad at people being lazy. I have literally I don't have time to look at the uniforms, and that's not me trying to get out of things. I don't have time to. I used to worry about what the bed of grass looked like. I mean, what was being posted on social media. Yes, I should be involved in those things, but I'll be honest, I've taken a step back. You know, everybody always talks about the roles of head coaches being more and more. I'm just getting pulled in other directions with all this other things, this thing called NIL and transfer portal, where, you know, we got a lot. And look, I have no swag, Devin. So you know, now I got a trivia question for you. All right, you're wearing a Sting shirt, okay? Yeah. Sting. First off, do you know what his original tag team he was with and what their name was?
I do not.
Okay, Ultimate Warrior. Okay, and they were in a tag team, and they both went by their original names, and they were called the Blade Runners. Okay, early '80s. Make sure you look it up. It was good. So back in the day, that was my favorite tag team when I was a youth. Okay.
Ryan, final thing. You referenced the crowd. What will hopefully be a big crowd on Thursday. You're showcasing not only your product, but you're showcasing everything else with the city. An ESPN nationally televised game. How important is it in the scope of things to have a great crowd for everybody outside the area to watch?
Yeah, absolutely. It's huge, right? One, anybody that lives within 2 hours, come on, show up at the game. Even if you're not a Memphis fan, come on, right? I even hope, you know, the people from the base come on down and watch us play because, one, I love the products we're able to put on the field. Two, out of respect to the academy, you show up. And then let's put the city on display. It's a great night to showcase everything we have. Great night to showcase our football program. Great night to showcase our stadium. Great night to showcase our city. And what a better way on national television to sell the city of Memphis, to sell the University of Memphis, to sell these wonderful things. Man, all the negative talk, I can't stand it because we have so many wonderful things here, so many things. And man, hopefully the product matches it because it's going to be a beautiful night. The crowd's going to be there on Thursday night. It cannot wait to put it on display. Obviously, hopefully we do so with a win, but man, the fans got to show up and it's going to be a great night.